Hi. You know what? I'm gonna do a second one tonight because I'm just feeling it. When you're feeling it, you should just do it. So I'm gonna stick to the topic of racism, and I'm actually gonna. There is gonna be more steps to this because I just realized how many things I can relate to this over my life. And I'm older, so I've been around a while to see a few things. The one I'm gonna do right now, and I'm gonna try to not let my brain go to the others too quickly, is I'm going to touch about experiencing it. There's a huge misconception out there, or at least it's projected that way. I actually don't think there's a misconception. I think a lot of people know that racism is everywhere in between all kinds of culture, but I think because of some significant ridiculous things that people that look like me did in the past, and the willingness of us to feel bad about our ancestors and what they did. Um, we've taken it on that, oh my God, we're so bad, we're so sorry about, it was terrible, terrible what my great grandpa did or whatever, right? Which is bunk. And I'm going to debunk it a lot. It's going on today in many countries. I mean, Africa's terrible right now between Muslims and the people that different countries, Africans that like in different parts of Africa, they're their own groups. So that but so the blacks and the Muslims, the blacks and the browns, I guess, are really having problems with each other, and it's terrible what they do. But we all know of European genocides too, right? We know. Um, it's just it's everywhere. But let me go back to just taking it on for a second here. I personally do not feel that I am anywhere near close to being a racist, and I've actually experienced racism on me. And right now, some people are rolling their eyes and wanting to click this off. Oh yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about because my grandpa was a slave. Well, that is sad if your grandpa was truly a slave or your grandma. It's awful, but you're not. So hang on a second here. The difference is you're now living, and if you've had experiences yourself, then fair enough. Then you're going to be able to actually relate to what I'm going to say here because it's true, and you'll be able to tell it's true. But if you haven't experienced it yourself and you're living on the historical of what happened in the past to your families, yes, it guided you. And yes, it brought you to where you are in the present day through generations. But you yourself, if you're able to hold your head and not experience it, you owe them a hell of a lot of gratitude. But if you haven't experienced it, then to look at someone like me and just say, "Oh well, you're privileged." No, I live in a basement suite. I'm broke all the time. I'm worried about my bills, just like a lot of people do in the world. I've actually lived in a truck in Mexico for quite a while. I had times where I couldn't eat. So just don't give me the sob stories. I've had my own, but that to me they weren't. They're just life experiences. I don't actually think they're sob stories. They're just things I went through. But let me go to the racism part. I got recruited from a company I used to work for over at Avon. I had 16 years I was up in management, so my resume looked good. I had her falling out with the manager, and I was asked to stay, but they brought me to the head office and asked me to stay, and I chose not to, because I always wanted out. I never thought I would be a grocery guy for the rest of my life, but I ended up getting married and having children, having bills and mortgages and car payments, and I could never get away. So that when this happened, I just, this is it, and right or wrong, and that's another whole story, because in many ways it did work out for me, but at that time, in my 30s, I chose to part ways. And then I was lucky enough to get recruited overseas. So I went off to Singapore, and I went there first by myself, did some consulting, and in the 3 months I was consulting for a company called Oriental Emporium. It was a Hutchison Whampoa, one of their affiliates, and those are the guys that have all those towers in Hong Kong. Um, anyways, so I got the consulting job. I wanted over a bunch of people, and then I went there, and 3 months, they offered me to go home to see my family and my kids, my wife and my kids, and then they wanted to insist that I was coming back. They needed to know. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, I didn't have another job, and they were paying me well. It was a great life experience. I said, but I will probably want to bring the family, after the school terms up, so bring them next summer. And they said, oh yeah, no, that won't be a problem. Well, we'll increase your package, because it was a tiered package. So I said, great. So I come back, and it turns out what they were doing, why they were insisting, is that the guy that was running this, it was like Woodward's food. Woodward's used to have like a food floor in department stores. It was sort of like that. So we were about 40% of their sales, and the department was about 60%. And they had 22 stores in Little Singapore, which, if you don't know, it's only 14 by 12 miles. So it's amazingly small. Actually, it was the most densely populated. Probably still is, because it's not a lot. It's a very small place, so everything has to go up. So anyway, I go back, and the reason they were insisting on knowing I was coming back is they were firing the guy that had been underperforming, and they were lining me up to take a job because they were impressed with what I did in my 3 months. So I go back there, and I walk in, and I'm sat down, and all the big wigs are put around a table with me, and they pull the chair out and sit me down, and they start talking to me about would I like this position. Talk about pressure, right? Boom, they wanted to know. And so I spoke to everybody, and blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, ended up looking at contracts and signing up. So I became what they call, I actually got to pick my title. So I had all these different titles to choose from, and I picked supermarket controller. So I was running those 22. So I went from an assistant manager to running 22 stores. I went from very little, just a store that I was in, versus overseeing and having a P&L responsibility of, well, my goal in the first year was they wanted me to get 95 million in sales. So obviously I don't know how much they normally do, so I'm looking at the books, and previous year they had done 85. But the year before that, it turns out they had done 95, so that's one of the reasons the other guy was gone. He dropped off. He lost quite a bit of money for them. And so they asked me to go, and they said, you have a year to prove yourself. If you do, you can stay longer. So anyways, and side note, I achieved 107. And I'll maybe one day do the story on that, because it's kind of a cool story, because it's hard to do a lot of stuff that changes things within the year, especially when you're dealing off of really 85. That was the month to date that everyone was looking at, and they just wanted to beat their figures from last year, but I needed them to more than beat them. I needed them to get back to the previous year and more, but I'll talk about that one another time. So I go in, I take over this. I then have to go to the different stores and the different department managers that do the different parts, like produce or dairy or whatever. Fish, they're big on the fish departments there. And I have to go to these people at the head office that are delegating their work to the stores. And their buddy had been fired. All right. So racism? Yeah. I more than experienced racism. I was threatened. I was shoved. I had a fist come at my face. I had people quitting over it. I had people calling me all kinds of names. Luckily, a lot of it was in Mandarin, and I didn't understand it. But I always had to look over at my translator to know that it was like a little nod, like, yeah, you're getting it again. As I tried to do it with a smile, I could tell after a while. I started to hear the same kinds of words. So, were they wrong or right for being racist towards me? They were hurt. They were upset that they'd lost a friend. But yeah, so this guy right here has experienced head-on racism. I also stayed over there longer, ended up going into worked through Malaysia with the company, went through all the different stores and stuff. And then I also went off to Thailand and switched companies to a company called Watson's that some of you might have heard of if you travel anywhere in Asia, because it's bigger than 7-Eleven. Sort of a 7-Eleven and a body shop and a drugstore all combined in one. So Yeah, and that had issues too, of course. So, racism and guys that look like me, we experience it too. And don't like it. It's wrong. It's wrong. It doesn't matter who you are. But what I've really noticed is that I can see groups that just don't like each other really quickly. And I can see the racists that are in those groups. Not everyone's a racist. It doesn't matter if they're white, yellow, brown, black. They're not all racist, but they will be racist within every culture group. So it's time as a world that we grow up and we look at the individuals that have the issues and try to adjust them through the community of the groups coming up and saying, hey, we're not going to be like that. What you're doing is wrong. That's a decent person, or that's a decent, group. They're trying to do right by us, for us, with us. Join in. And that's how we fix the world. I'm going to go into this more on another topic. Is one of my beliefs is that for the world to ever get better is we need to cross-pollinate. We need to, the more we mix the bloods and mix the races, through marriages and babies and stuff, the less we can be directed to hate. Someone can't tell you to hate a guy that looks like me just because I look like me. I can't be told to hate someone that looks like you. It's like, no, I'm also, he looks just like my nephew. Like, the more we muddle the less, they have control, or people that want to control us through hatred and wars and things, less they'll be able to pull that manipulating game that they do to all of us, so that they can make lots of money and stay in power and control, so a few can control the masses. It's really easy. All someone has to do is, they have someone from another culture kill someone in their family, and then that family says, I don't give a damn, I'm getting that. I don't know who it is, but I'm going to get someone back from that group. And that's how easy it is. It's just this light the match, and we all jump to it. We jump to the flame, sadly. So we gotta figure we're being manipulated and say, no, fuck you, we know what you're up to. Because if we could ever get the people together, we could change everything really quickly, because you can't argue against billions of people. You can't. It doesn't matter. No matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter how many armies you try to buy. If there's billions of people against you, the armies are going to lay down their guns and they're going to go join the other side. They're not stupid either. They have families as well. We have the ability, we have the possibility of fixing things. Unfortunately, we're up against a real foe. They don't want us to figure it out. And those that figure it out, anyone that figures it out, that I'm a nobody, I'm living in the basement, right? I got no influence. Probably 10 people will look at this, if that. But people that are more substantial to try to do anything about it are constantly belittled. They're told that they did this or they did that. There's trumped up charges put on them, or they're killed. They're taken out because, they're playing the game that we're all wondering if we should play it. They're playing and we're not. So it's like playing a soccer game. If their team's on the field and you're still warming up on the sidelines, they're putting a lot of balls in that net until you get out on the field. And they don't care because they want to win. Greed. I'm going to do a tape on greed. Greed's probably the worst thing we got going on the planet. We got people that just can't accept that there's a limit. Aspiring is great. Having all your toys and stuff is great, but over greed is not great. It means that others are dying and starving and malnutrition and no medical and all the stuff. Many are living sadly so that you can have your 20 cars, your 5 planes, your 4 castles, your yachts, and then a really, really ridiculous, pretty big account that you can't even spend the interest on. Shame on you if you're one of those. Shame on you. Cheers, Mike. denigamos.